What is going on, guys? We are back. We are going to be looking at every single UFC champion versus the top 5 contenders in their division. This video was requested a long time ago. And, I let some things shake out with the welterweight division, with the middleweight division, and some other things like Ilia Topuria. So now, after Hamza Chimaev won the belt, I believe it is the perfect time to do so. So let's go ahead and get into it without further ado, starting from heavyweight, going down to flyweight. We've got Tom Aspinall as the heavyweight champion. Now, looking at the numbers, guys, these are not the rankings, okay? These are the top 5 contenders, but obviously, Gelton Almeida is not the number 1 contender. Gan's not number 2. This is based off, one, being how likely they are to beat Tom Aspinall. So I think Gelton Almeida, for example, is the toughest test for Tom Aspinall out of the top 5 contenders in the heavyweight division. But with that being said, I don't see Tom Aspinall losing to any of these guys, but I will say Gelton Almeida is the toughest test because he has something that the heavyweight division lacks, very much so. The heavyweight division lacks good grapplers. We got guys like Taito Ivasa, Cyril Gahn, who have zero grappling. Derek Lewis, he doesn't even believe in jiu-jitsu. He just stands up, and sometimes it even works. But Gelton Almeida is an elite grappler compared to the heavyweights, and it could be a potential threat to Tom Aspinall and his throne. Tom Aspinall is just a very tricky subject because he has not been tested at all in the UFC, okay? All of his fights last 1 minute, and that's just what it is, okay? Gelton Almeida has proven that he can grapple to an elite level, and again, it's hard to tell with these guys because he looks like an elite grappler, but at the same time, he's fighting heavyweights who have zero grappling, okay? But Tom Aspinall, he can grapple, man. I know that he's knocking everybody out, but let's not forget, Tom Aspinall is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt himself. I think Gelton Almeida would, try to take the fight to Tom Aspinall, try to get him down. I don't know if he'd have much success doing so, but it's something we have not seen in a Tom Aspinall fight. So that is why I think he would be the toughest challenge to Tom Aspinall. We have not seen him have to defend takedowns like that. And definitely not fight a grappler nearly as skilled as a Gelton Almeida. Also, Gelton Almeida, he's a big fighter, man, okay? Moving on to number 2, Cyril Gahn. This is the next matchup for Tom Aspinall. Cyril Gahn, like I said earlier, has zero grappling. Maybe he went to Dagestan in the meantime, but after the Jones fight, it really got exposed, okay? We already had this idea that Cyril Gahn, who, don't get me wrong, is a great kickboxer, great striker, but he does not have anything on the ground. Now, he has improved since the John Jones loss. He looked better against Alexander Volkov, even though he lost that fight, by the way. But there's levels, man. There's levels to this. Now, Cyril Gahn is a great striker, might even be a better striker, more technically sound than Tom Aspinall. If Tom Aspinall wants to win this fight with the least amount of resistance, Tom Aspinall could take this fight to the ground and finish Cyril Gahn in the first round. And I think that's what we might see. Maybe Tom Aspinall goes to round 2, round 3. I don't see Tom Aspinall losing this fight. Now, if Cyril Gahn was this technical kickboxer with one-punch knockout power, it would be a different story, but it's not. He's not that guy. He has power. He does have pop. He's got some KOs in his day, but he's not Francis Ngannou. Tom Aspinall clears this one. I'll say medium diff, man. Moving on to Alexander Volkov, we've already seen this fight. However, Volkov has got a lot better. Volkov has been the most underrated fighter in the heavyweight division in my eyes. Now, not so much anymore because people are kind of seeing that Volkov is a legit contender. With that being said, Tom Aspinall has also got a lot better since their first meeting. Tom Aspinall schooled him. He dominated Volkov. I think we'd see the exact same. Volkov has these long, rangy weapons, and that's it. Volkov is not elite anywhere. He's pretty good everywhere. I'll say he's good everywhere. Tom Aspinall is just better everywhere. Okay, Tom Aspinall would finish Volkov within the first 2 rounds for sure. Moving on to Sergey Pavlovich, he has power, and that's it. Pavlovich was a scary man. He went 8 fights in a row that did not leave the first round. 2 of those being losses, the other 6 being wins, knockout victories in the first round. He was a scary dude in the heavyweight division, but Tom Aspinall knocked him out in 1 minute. I think it was, no, less than a minute. I think Tom Aspinall knocked him out in less than a minute. Sergey Pavlovich is not as good as we thought. Now, Pavlovich, I do have him over Blades because he has that one-punch knockout power. He's a brawler, and he's very girthy, okay? He might be tough I don't know. I don't know about Pavlovich. I feel like there's still a lot we don't know about him because, like I said, he went to 8 straight fights that ended in the first round. So we don't know too much about Pavlovich's gas tank. I know he out wrestled Jairzinho Rozenstruik and he went to a decision against Volkov, but we have not seen him in a dogfight. Well, you can say the same thing about Tom Aspinall. But with that being said, we don't really know how good Pavlovich's takedown defense is. I'm just going to expect or assume that it's not very good. But anyway, Tom Aspinall has proven that he can knock him out on the feet. He could probably take him down and submit him, whatever he wants, man. Pick your poison with Tom Aspinall. I got Pavlovich at the 4, and at the number 5, we have Curtis Razor Blades, who stylistically seems like an easier matchup or harder matchup, sorry, for Tom Aspinall with him being a wrestler. But to be honest, we saw how it played out. Aspinall is quicker, he's more powerful. He knocked him out in the first round as well, like he does. And Tom Aspinall is also just better everywhere. Maybe Curtis Blades has the edge in pure wrestling, but Curtis Blades is just too acoustic, bro. That's what it comes down to. But moving on to the 205 light heavyweight division, Magomed Ankalaev reigns supreme. He's the champion. However, I still believe the former champion Alex Poatan Pereira is the toughest matchup for him. If you go rewatch their fight, it was very close, man. It was a lot closer than I originally thought when I watched it live, guys. By the way, I was there at UFC 313. But Alex Pereira, I think he's going to make some adjustments in the rematch. I think Ankalaev will as well. But Pereira just has this X factor on the feet. Now he's not as fast as Ankalaev. That was very evident in their fight. But Alex Pereira can crack like no other. He has some of the best power pound for pound in UFC history. And for that reason, he's at number 1. That's why I have him above Yuri. People might even argue Yuri's a tougher test for Ankalaev. I disagree. However, we'll get to Yuri in a second, but Alex Pereira proved time and time again that he's a better striker than Yuri. And there's levels to this, okay? Alex Pereira is one of the best strikers in UFC history. And I think he is the toughest test for Ankalaev. I think he has better takedown defense than Yuri Prohaska as well. So that is why I have him at number 1. He does not have a submission game like Yuri. Yuri's got some submissions, some tricks up his sleeve, but Yuri Prohaska is at my number 2. Yuri Prohaska, I believe, to be the second hardest hitting light heavyweight on the roster. He doesn't have power like Pereira, but it's not that far off, to be honest. And Yuri has this very awkward style, this samurai spirit, and he has the will to win. He has heart, okay? So does Alex Pereira, not saying that or taking anything away from him, but Yuri Prohaska is not as good of a striker. He's more unorthodox, and I believe Pereira honestly has better takedown defense at this point. I could see Magomed Ankalaev actually having success in the wrestling against Yuri Prohaska. But I don't think either of these guys are going to beat Magomed Ankalaev. I would pick Ankalaev over anybody in the division right now. But moving on to Carlos Ulberg, that's how I feel about Ulberg, man. I like Ulberg as a person. I don't really love his style. He's kind of boring. He relies on his lead hook a lot, and he's not Alex Pereira, okay? You are not Alex Poatan Pereira, buddy. It's not like Pereira setting up his left hook. It's more of a counter check hook that has been very effective. Shout out Carlos Ulberg. But I don't see it, man. I just don't. Nothing from his game just screams elite or champion, future champion in my eyes. I just don't see it, man. If he fights a guy like Yuri or Alex, he's going to get exposed. I know he had a close fight, by the way, with Jan Blachowicz, who's been out of the game for 7 years. Not actually, but it seems like it. And Jan Blachowicz I have slightly below Ulberg just because he's older. Okay, if Jan Blachowicz was, a couple years prior, I would have Blachowicz probably at the 2, maybe the 3. But Blachowicz is a great striker. We saw what happened when Magomed Ankalaev met Jan Blachowicz in a vacant title fight, guys. It ended in a draw. I will say I do believe Ankalaev won the fight. But Jan Blachowicz was right there, man. He won the early rounds. I think Ankalaev won the later rounds. But ever since that point, Magomed Ankalaev has gotten a lot better. And I cannot say the same for Blachowicz. Blachowicz has actually decreased. He's gotten older. He's like 47 years old as well. But moving on to Khalil Roundtree, guys, I know y'all love Khalil Roundtree. He's not beating Magomed Ankalaev. Where does he beat Ankalaev? There's no answer. He doesn't beat Ankalaev anywhere. Roundtree likes this blitz. And the thing with Ankalaev is he's a great counter striker. And I believe he might even be quicker. He might even be quicker than Roundtree. I don't think that's crazy. I think Ankalaev is a much better striker. If he wants to take this fight to the ground, I think he could do so. I just don't see Roundtree and his blitz having much success. Maybe he can do these stomps. Actually, he can't even get away with these stomps, man. It's southpaw versus southpaw. Roundtree does not win this fight, and I don't even think Ankalaev would finish him. I think Ankalaev would win a comfortable 49-46 decision, mostly on the feet. But anyway, let's keep it rolling. On to the newly crowned Hamza Chimaev middleweight champion. Yes, guys, at the number one, the toughest test in the top 5 for Hamza Chimaev is the Riddler. Rainer de Ritter, man. People forget, man. People act like this man's not that good. He's very good. I know he's the goofy goober style, kind of like Dricus du Plessis. And I'm not going to say that he's better than DDP. I don't want us to act like Dricus du Plessis was never good just because he got dominated by Hamza Chimaev, one of the best grapplers in UFC history. But stylistically, I do think de Ritter is a tougher matchup than Dricus du Plessis. I know it's easy to say that again since DDP just got 50-44. It honestly should have been 50-43 in my eyes. But de Ritter, a much, much, much better grappler than Dricus du Plessis. I would say levels above him. Now, is he on the same level as Hamza Chimaev? Probably not. But de Ritter's also massive, dude. The Riddler meme is still massive, bro. Okay, Rainer de Ritter, I don't think he beats Hamza Chimaev. I don't think any of these guys beat Hamza Chimaev. But I do think he is the toughest test because de Ritter has been in some scraps. He's been in some wars. He's been in there with elite wrestlers. And I know this sounds dumb, but he's been in there with Bo Nickel, who is a very, very established wrestler, not MMA fighter, but that's some good experience, okay? Hamza Chimaev, again, is on a whole nother level, but de Ritter has a good guard. He likes to be on top, no diddy. And de Ritter's going to bring the fight. He's not going to be scared to engage in the grappling with Hamza Chimaev. Now, is that going to benefit him? Maybe not. But if this fight takes place on the feet as well, I think Hamza would piece him up. But de Ritter does. He does have some solid knees to the body that he actually finished Bo Nickel with and actually landed some great knees against Robert Whittaker as well. I don't think he beats Hamza Chimaev, but I don't think Hamza Chimaev would want to play the guard game with the Riddler. I just don't think that would happen. I also don't think the Riddler would get crucifixed for 20 minutes against Chimaev. But anyway, I don't think he would win. I would pick Hamza Chimaev by submission. Probably round 2 or round 3. I do think it could go to deep waters, but I would still ride with Chimaev. Nasruddin Imavov is number 2. And I'm going to say it's a big drop-off between the Riddler and Nasruddin Imavov because Imavov is very good. I just don't know if I'm sold on him yet. I don't know if anybody else believes this. I know he just knocked out my boy Izzy. But there's something with Imavov, man. Imavov, however you say it. There's something with him where he's very good. He's another case where I don't believe him to be elite anywhere. He's a very well-rounded fighter, good boxing, good wrestling, good anti-grappling. But, guys, I have this visual engraved in my head where this man got taken down and controlled by Brendan Allen for 4 minutes of the round? Something like that. Buddy, if Hamza Chimaev does that to you, if Brendan Allen is doing that to you, Hamza Chimaev is having his way with you, okay? You're getting crucifixed, buddy. You're getting put in positions worse than the crucifix position, okay? Nasruddin Imavov, I'm going to put him at number 2. I don't think he just has this crazy power in his hands. I think he just landed a picture-perfect right hand on Izzy. I'm putting him at 2. Sean Strickland's at the number 3, guys. Strickland, man. Here's the thing about Strickland. Strickland, again, pressure fighter, jab and a teep. He's going to get in your face and annoy you on the feet. Not land anything critical, but you're not going to land anything on him. He's a tough cookie on the feet, I will say. And the thing about Strickland is I think he has very underrated takedown defense and just grappling in general. He keeps talking all this trash, saying he's the only one that can compete with Hamza Chimaev in the grappling department. I'm not buying that, but I think he could pose some threats to Chimaev. However, I still would pick Hamza Chimaev by round 1 submission, okay? That's how good I think Chimaev is. Moving on to Dricus du Plessis, I don't have to say much. We just saw this one play out. Maybe the answer is different if Dricus du Plessis actually goes and works on his game, works on his takedown defense, works on his ground game. Maybe he slides up to like a number 3, but not much further than that, man. This man, Chimaev's been doing this his whole life. He's not something he's not a fighter you can just prepare for with one training camp, guys, okay? And at the number 5 spot, yes, my GOAT, Israel, not the country out of Sanya, guys. We all know how this fight would go. Chimaev versus Izzy would be straight up bullying. I would probably shed a tear, man. Israel Adesanya would get submitted in the first round. If you're getting submitted by DDP, I know the circumstances was different. Dogfight, round 4. You got caught on the feet before, but Hamza Chimaev would do bad things to Izzy, man. Moving on to the welterweight division. Jack Dilla Maddalena is the champion, just beat Bilal Muhammad. And I honestly think JDM could have a pretty long title reign. That's going to sound crazy to some of y'all. The thing is, I was late to the JDM train. I've always been a JDM fan. But seeing how his takedown defense was not great, I did not believe he was going to be champion yet. I thought he could be down the line because he's still only, 28 years old, something like that. But I have Sean Brady at the number 1. Most of y'all probably have Shavkat. I think Sean Brady is the toughest stylistic matchup because Sean Brady has pretty good boxing, not as good as JDM. I think he has the best boxing in the division, JDM that being whatever. But Sean Brady, first of all, is a very physical human, and he's not just a smudge grappler. He's not a Bilal Muhammad who's going to take you down and be content, just wearing on you and racking up control time. He can do that. Sean Brady has great top pressure, but he's looking for a finish. He's looking for a submission. He's one of the most dangerous ground guys in the 170 welterweight division, bro. And Sean Brady's a very, very tough matchup for JDM. How would that fight go? I don't know, man. I really do not know. I might even lean towards Sean Brady. I might lean towards Sean Brady right now. He said that he had a fight with Ian Gary coming up, and then Ian Gary declined it. I don't know how true that is. But Sean Brady, we saw what he did to Leon Edwards. And Leon Edwards, people are going to say now that he's just not this good grappler. Leon Edwards is a good grappler, a good defensive wrestler. Who does that to Leon Edwards, man? Sean Brady made it look easy. He dominated. He absolutely dominated, made Leon Edwards look like a toddler. Okay? Now, JDM's had problems with takedown defense. I don't know if Sean Brady's entries are as good as Bilal Muhammad's, but if Sean Brady could get JDM down, I think he would be able to. JDM tries these scrambles, man. That could leave his neck open for a Darce, for a guillotine, whatever Sean Brady wants to pull. I think he could get this one done. Shavkat's at my number 2. I think JDM beat Shavkat, guys. Now, Shavkat's is he a great striker? Shavkat, you know what, I'll say this. Shavkat is a great striker and a great grappler, but he's not an elite striker or an elite grappler, okay? JDM's an elite striker. I wouldn't say he's an elite grappler, but he's a good grappler, okay? He can scramble up to his feet at least. Shavkat Rakhmonov, I don't know if he'd be able to get JDM down. I feel like Shavkat would really try to work the clinch, but JDM, the thing is, Shavkat would have to close the space to work the clinch. And if you're up close with JDM, we saw what happened with Bilal Muhammad. When he closed the distance, JDM was piecing him up. He was piecing him up bad. And the thing is, Shavkat has fought a guy like Jeff Neal, who's sort of a similar style, I guess, to JDM. And at times, he was getting pieced up. Shavkat's got a big head. He's very hittable. He's got a good chin. JDM would piece him up bad. That's what I think. Kamaru Usman at my number 3. I have him slightly above Bilal Muhammad just because they're similar styles, I think. One does some things better, one does other things better. Kamaru Usman looks great against Joaquin Buckley. I think Kamaru Usman actually does better at holding people down than Bilal Muhammad. Now, I like Bilal Muhammad's pressure on the feet better, but I like Kamaru Usman. I just like Kamaru Usman. I think he has a slightly better chance than Bilal Muhammad. I think it'd be a great fight. Usman versus JDM has fight of the year written all over it, just like Bilal Muhammad. I think he has a slightly better chance than Bilal. You could argue, actually, I might even say Bilal's a better striker right now. That's going to sound crazy. I think Bilal might be a better striker right now. Dude, Usman, just looking at the Buckley fight, he looked like he had nothing on the feet, man. Actually, I might switch those guys. Just mentally switch Bilal Muhammad and Kamaru Usman, man. I love Usman. I'm wearing a Kamaru Usman shirt right now. Maybe that's why the bias started creeping in. Switch Bilal Muhammad and Usman. And Bilal Muhammad, we saw that fight. Very close fight. Very competitive. But JDM just proved that he was better. And Leon Edwards is at the 5, man. This was not meant to disrespect Leon, but I just don't think he has a better shot than all of these guys. And this fight was booked. I believe Leon versus JDM was the original fight that was booked before JDM stepped in to fight Bilal Muhammad. But, Leon would try to keep his range. JDM's trying to close the range. And I just think that Leon's weak point in his game, outside of the defensive grappling, I guess, the ground game, would be his boxing. And JDM is the best boxer, one of the best boxers in the sport. Okay, I think JDM would piece him up. I think it would be a competitive, close fight, though. But I would favor JDM. Moving on to the 155, the lightweight division. Ilia Topuria is now the champion, and Islam is currently ranked as the #1 contender. It's such a tough fight, guys. We need this fight. We need this fight so badly. I would pick Islam to win. Okay, I would pick Islam to win. Islam is the toughest matchup for Ilia Topuria. Now, Islam, I think, would have a. This is a tough fight to call, man. We need this fight. Ilia is a much better striker. I will say Islam is a good striker himself. Ilia Topuria has crazy power that Islam has never seen before. He also is faster on the feet than anybody Islam has ever seen before. And I don't think Ilia Topuria is just this easy guy to take down. I know he's gotten taken down by Bryce Mitchell. Look what Charles tried to do to him. Charles tried to get him down. Ilia Topuria reversed the position. Now, when we're talking in terms of wrestling, getting the fight to the mat, Islam is even a level above a Charles Oliveira. Now, if this fight does go to the ground, I don't see Ilia Topuria working his way back up to his feet. And if he does, we know Islam Makhachev has the best Darce choke in the game. It's his favorite choke. If you leave your neck exposed for just a minute, trying to, turtle up and get back up to your feet, you're getting choked out, okay? Islam Makhachev, I would pick to beat Ilia. However, I think it's a lot closer than some people might have thought. After the Charles fight, people are saying Ilia beats Islam. Before that, nobody was saying that Ilia would beat Islam, okay? I think Islam would win, but I think it would be competitive. Very interesting matchup. At number 2, I have Arman Tsarukyan. This is the fight I want to see next, but it's not going to happen. But Arman Tsarukyan, he poses some really good threats that Charles doesn't, okay? Charles was kind of content. Now, this is a flaw in his game plan. Ilia just kind of does this. Ilia kind of, you can have your game plan, and Ilia kind of forces you to fight his fight. Arman Tsarukyan, however, I don't think would do that. Arman Tsarukyan, if he failed a takedown, if his takedowns were getting stuffed, I don't see him being content hanging out in the pocket, in the boxing range with Ilia Topuria. I see him being relentless. We all know him and Hamza Chimaev are boys, they're training partners. I see a route like that, being relentless, on the pressure, spamming takedowns if you have to, even if you're not getting them. He might need to Murad Max here. Now, Arman Tsarukyan, I think he would get this fight to the ground because I do believe Arman Tsarukyan is one of the best grapplers in the sport. Yes, I think he's a better grappler than Ilia Topuria. I hear all this crazy stuff about how good of a grappler Topuria is, and man, he's a BJJ background, man. Arman Tsarukyan out-grappled Charles Oliveira. Arman Tsarukyan also has some nasty ground and pound. Not much of a submission threat. If Arman Tsarukyan had a submission game whatsoever, I would pick him to beat Ilia Topuria, but he doesn't. I'm picking Ilia Topuria in this hypothetical matchup barely. I think Ilia is too much on the feet. I think he would be able to stuff some of the takedowns. And man, he's too quick. He's too powerful. I would pick Ilia by knockout. And the same thing for 3 through 5, guys. We already saw the Max Holloway matchup. We already saw the Charles fight. However, I do think Max has a lot better chance at 155. I'm not going to say a lot better chance, but he has a better chance for sure. However, he still gets chinned. Charles Oliveira, we just saw that a couple weeks ago. My opinion has not changed on that. Ilia Topuria would spark him out again. And Justin Gaethje, why are we pushing for this matchup? Ilia Topuria would knock out Justin Gaethje in round 1. Low diff. He might eat a couple leg kicks, man. Justin Gaethje really might chew up that leg. Stop it, guys. Gaethje gets chinned in the first, maybe even quicker than Charles. Maybe not as quick as Charles, but I'll say this fight doesn't need to happen, man. I'm getting worked up just thinking about it. Ilia Topuria brutalizes Justin Gaethje. But let's keep it moving on to the featherweight division. My sweet Pookie Princess, Alexander Volkanovski. Okay. At the number 1 spot, I have Movsar Evloev. This is the fight that needs to happen. Or I want it to happen, but it's not going to happen anymore because Lerone Murphy just put a stamp on the fact. He just landed a spinning elbow cold KO on Aaron Pico. Now I understand, as you can tell, Aaron Pico is not in the top 5, man. But, however, Lerone Murphy stepped in on a short notice co-main event spot and delivered a great performance, highlight reel knockout. He's going to be fighting Volk next. That's just what's going to happen. But Evloev, I do believe, is the toughest matchup because the grappling is insane. But, guys, I want y'all to hear me out. Volk versus Evloev, I believe, could be fight of the year. Because Evloev, yes, he's a great grappler, Volkanovski versus Evloev. If you look at the striking, I would lean towards Volk, obviously. If you look at the grappling, I would lean towards Evloev. However, Volkanovski is such a good grappler, good anti-grappler. Look at the Islam fight. Is Evloev a better grappler than Islam? I'm going to say no. He's a great wrestler, but he does not have near amount of the submission threat that Islam poses. So, do we believe that Movsar is going to win a control time decision against Volkanovski? No, I do not believe so, at least. I think Volkanovski would stuff a bunch of takedowns. I think he would get taken down at some point, maybe even multiple times. But I think he would work back up to his feet with no danger of getting choked out by Evloev. Unless Movsar Evloev just somehow equipped some submissions that he never had before, like Merab did. But I don't think that's the case. At the number 2, we have Lerone Murphy. Man, I don't know if I want to see this fight. Lerone Murphy's not a knockout artist. I know he just knocked out Pico, but he's not known for his KOs. He can knock out people, but he's kind of like a Leon Edwards. And this matchup would be very tricky for Volk. I think you could argue this is a tougher stylistic matchup than Evloev in terms of Volkanovski, but I'm not picking a striker to beat Volkanovski. Not right now. There's one striker in the division that I would pick to beat Volkanovski, sadly. But that is because he has crazy power and he's an elite striker, and that is John Silva. That pains me, man. That pains me. Lerone Murphy, I think he does pose some great threats. I think Volk would try to get this fight to the ground and would have some trouble. I think he could get the fight to the ground, though. Okay, I think Volkanovski could work his sneaky techniques. I think he'd be popping the jab. I think he would close the distance, land some good leg kicks. I think he'd win a competitive decision against Lerone. I could see a world where Lerone Murphy does outpoint Volkanovski. I can't even say that, man. No. Nobody outpoints Volk, man. Nobody outpoints Volk except for Islam, okay? But that's different. Volkanovski, I think, would win a 48-47 competitive decision against Lerone. Diego Lopez, we saw that fight. It was a great fight. However, Volkanovski was just a step ahead. But if I was Diego Lopez and I wanted to run it back, let's say they got booked for a rematch right now. I would tell Diego Lopez to do what got you to the dance. I want you to come out swinging crazy in round 1. Wild man, mad dog style, swinging for the fences. I think that's your best chance. You're not going to outpoint Volkanovski. He's not good enough on the feet to just go tit for tat, man, with Volk. He's not. Diego Lopez has crazy power. He does not have the technique to strike with Volkanovski, okay? He has to land a power shot. Yair Rodriguez, he could fluke something, guys. We've already seen this one. And then Brian Ortega. No. Brian Ortega would get dominated, bro. Let's be real. Let's go ahead and move on to Bantamweight. Merab Dvalishvili, the unbeatable one. Umar Nurmagomedov is at number 1. Their fight was beautiful. One of my favorite fights in recent UFC history, but I don't think he beats Merab right now. Even in a rematch, I think Umar could beat Merab a year from now, maybe 2 years from now. I think he still can get better, but I don't think he's beating Merab, man. Nobody's beating Merab. Nobody in this top 5 is beating Merab Dvalishvili. He's got a fight coming up with Corey Sandhagen. I think Corey's number 2. I think Corey poses some threats that O'Malley doesn't, that Petr Yan doesn't, but Corey Sandhagen, the threats that I think that he poses is more of I can see Corey Sandhagen being willing to engage in the grappling in the sense that I think that he might want to. I can see him rolling for a leg, man. I can see Corey Sandhagen spamming submissions, trying to get up to his feet against Merab. Now, is it going to work? I don't think so. But Corey Sandhagen has some tricks up his sleeve. He's a good grappler himself. The beakers and test tubes, Corey Sandhagen. Crazy fight IQ, kind of. But Corey Sandhagen also is a great striker, but at the same time, is he? Is he an elite striker? Because he has not outstruck a great striker yet. People talk about him as this great creative striker, which he is. But at the same time, he's not knocking out Merab unless he lands some spectacular flying knee. I don't see that happening, man. I think Corey Sandhagen is going to be tentative on the feet like we see everybody that fights Merab. And I think we're going to see more of the same. Not a finish this time unless Merab, again, like I said, just equip a bunch of new submissions. We saw him submit O'Malley somehow. But I think Merab's going to wear on the gas tank. 49-46, Corey Sandhagen, per usual, another title defense. Moving on to Petr Yan. Petr Yan, guys, let's not forget he got 50-45 by Merab. What has he done to improve his game? I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see in a rematch because Merab has got better. Jan's on a win streak now. Jan's got great takedown defense, probably the best takedown defense on this whole list, outside of maybe you can argue Umar. And Jan's a great striker, arguably the best striker on this list as well. However, he cannot crack like O'Malley. That's just the reality of it. Jan also doesn't have any submissions like a Corey Sandhagen does or Umar. So you're kind of in this middle ground where Petr Yan sort of has to outpoint Merab. And I don't know if that's possible. Okay, yes, Yan can stuff as many takedowns as you want, but at the same time, Merab's going to be content clinching you up against the cage, landing these nasty knees on the thigh, nasty knees to the butt, bro. So Yan, I think it's an intriguing matchup, kind of, but I think we see the same thing, maybe a little bit more competitive. Jan's got some tricks up his sleeve. He's got some nasty trips. He's got some good grappling himself. Great striking, obviously. I just don't see it. He's not a knockout artist. If he was, if Yan had this crazy power, I would move him up higher. I might even put him at number 1, but he doesn't, okay? At number 4, we have Sean O'Malley. We've already seen the fight twice. We've already seen it happen twice, okay, guys? And some of y'all were picking O'Malley to beat Merab, bro. What? That was me. I may or may not have picked Sean O'Malley to beat Merab both times. Okay, guys, but here's the thing. If they run the trilogy, bro, I'm picking Sean O'Malley to do it, guys. 3rd time's the charm. I'm kidding, obviously. Sean O'Malley, unlike some of these other guys, has that one-punch knockout power. Not power like Taforia or Pereira, but he can crack, bro. He will sit you down with one shot. He's very rangy, very long for the division. I think he even looked improved in the second fight. And Merab still finished him. Merab still won every single round up until that finish. That's how good Merab is. And at the number 5, we have Song Yadong. I think Song Yadong's great. He's good. He's not beating Merab. Song Yadong has been taken down by numerous different fighters that are not known for their grappling or not nearly as good of a wrestler like Merab or as Merab. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Song Yadong has power in his hands. He's got good boxing. Merab dominates him, okay? Let's go ahead and wrap it up with the flyweight division, guys. Alexandre Pantoja, another fighter that looks unbeatable right now. This one might be a little bit controversial. I have Tatsuro Taira at the 1. Yes, guys. Tatsuro Taira, I think, is the only grappler in the division that can hang with Pantoja. However, I think Pantoja is also a better striker than Taira. The thing with Pantoja, man, he doesn't look like a great striker, but he kind of is. He's effective, I'll say that. Taira, his boxing is looking better and better. His striking's looking better and better. He just dropped, I forget the dude's name that he just dominated in the main event of a fight night. But Tatsuro Taira looks like he's insane. He's insane in the grappling department, but so is Pantoja. That is a fight we need to see down the line. As of right now, I would pick Pantoja. I can see a competitive decision, bro. I think Taira can continue to get better and better. Pantoja can continue to get older and older. And maybe Taira finally claims that throne. As of right now, there's nothing I've seen that makes me want to pick against Pantoja. At the number 2, we have Brandon Moreno. Yes, Pantoja has beat him 3 times. Okay, close fights. Some of them were very close fights. But Brandon Moreno is just so well-rounded that he's such a hard fight for anybody. I think he always poses a threat against Pantoja. I don't think he beats Pantoja, though. I think Pantoja is just too good. But Moreno, he's proven he can still do it. He took a little bit of a break, a short break. He said he was going to take years off. He didn't. Moreno's back. I think he's on a 2-fight win streak now. I think he's 2 wins away from potentially fighting for a title again. I don't know if he fights Pantoja for a 4th time, but Moreno's at my number 2. At number 3, the next title challenger, and Joshua Van. Might be the best striker in the division. I think he is the best striker in the division. However, look, guys, if you want to break this down in simple terms, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Joshua Van is a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we're breaking it down in simple terms, a blue belt versus Pantoja, one of the best grapplers in the sport. It's not a good recipe, man. It's just not a good recipe. I get that Joshua Van has great takedown defense, but he also has not fought Alexandre Pantoja. Okay? Joshua Van is higher than Roy Val because he can crack. Okay? Joshua Van has crazy power, crazy boxing. He's a better striker than Royval. Beautiful fight between those two, by the way. But I have him above Royval. I actually battle with this because I think Royval's a better grappler. I think Van's a better striker. Royval has some submissions up his sleeve. You're not going to submit Pantoja, probably. However, you could knock him out because one of Pantoja's weaknesses that I see in his game is he leaves his chin out there. So maybe Joshua Van can crack him. I think that's the only way you beat Pantoja right now. And I got Joshua Van at 3. I don't see him just knocking out Pantoja. It's possible. I don't think it happens. I'm picking Pantoja to dominate Van on the ground. Maybe Van stuffs a takedown or two. I think Pantoja is going to be relentless, stick to the grappling game plan like he does, eventually get his back, probably choke him out. Royval's at the 4. We've seen this one not that long ago. Pantoja's just better, okay? Royval, the better striker, volume striker. Pantoja's just too good, man. And at the number 5, Albazi, no chance, buddy. Get out of here. Albazi, was looked at as a great grappler in this division at one point in time. You're cooked, buddy. Pantoja dominates. But anyway, guys, I know this was a longer video. I hope y'all enjoyed. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe if you are new. Let me know in the comments what you agree with, what you disagree with. Let me know what types of videos you want to see next. And also, guys, Friday, we're hosting a UFC trivia on stream. So turn the post notifications on, guys, 8:30 Eastern. You don't want to miss out. But anyway, guys, I appreciate y'all once again for tuning in, and we out.